Why did it do that? Are we doing this? We starting? All right, we're starting. Hey, just in time. All right, hey, welcome guys to counselor training. What are we doing here? Okay, hey, yeah, welcome everyone. Thank you guys for. I have to stay here, huh? All right. Okay, yeah. All right, welcome guys to Council Training 2024. I'm so glad. So we're like a week away from camp, and hopefully you guys are getting excited. I don't know about you guys. I think on the leadership side, we're a little bit afraid just because we got a lot of stuff to do. So, but we're excited. Let me just start us off with a word of prayer, kind of just kick us off, and then we'll get into what we'll do today, okay? God, I thank you for this time. I thank you for all the men and women out here who decided to be counselors this year. How they want to be able to pour into the lives of our students to help us make disciples of our students. And so, God, I just pray for today, pray for this next week, and I just pray through everything that's going to be happening next few weeks, that your hand would be in every part of it, that we would be able to look towards you during this time. We'll be able to look towards you during times where we need help, that we would sense your spirit moving within us even now in this week, and all the lessons that you want to teach us, and all the ways that you want us to see you work. And will you help us to see you now so that we may be able to teach it to our students, teach it to the campers. And so pray that you would allow us here today just to get ready. I pray that whatever we train, whatever we teach in here today, that you would just use it, and that whatever we miss, that you would be sufficient in all things that we miss. So, God, we just thank you for this time. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, hey, I want to welcome you guys. My name's Stan. I am the camp director this year, and I'm glad you guys are here. I'll introduce some of the other staff real soon, but I just want to just appreciate everyone for being here. I know a lot of y'all might be first-timers, and then I think it's really cool to see just you guys come up here because I guess I've realized over the years, the past few years, I there's a lot more new faces that people that I just don't know. Like, you guys come out of nowhere, and I'm like, who invited you guys, and who is this person that just applied? And but just cool, because usually it's like, okay, it's people that we know, it's people that have come up in our youth groups, and then definitely you guys, we're so super grateful that that you guys are here. Those who have grown up in the youth group. It makes us feel better, right? It makes us feel better as youth workers, like, oh, you're still here in the church, you're still following Jesus, and you want to do, you want to help out. And so y'all make us feel better. And those of you who, like, I just don't know you, I don't even know your face, I don't know anything about you, like, we're glad you're here too, right? Just like if we don't know you, you probably don't know our students. And it's just like, why would you want to spend your summer, spend like 3 days in Boxwoods where it's really hot, and why would you want to spend time with people you don't know and try to pour into their lives, right? And so we thank you for coming in and, just coming in and blessing our students, blessing us as youth pastors here in Houston. So, so those of you who we just don't know, we're glad you're here. And again, and then there's a third group of y'all who are, you've done camp like 20 times, right? And so actually, who's done the most who's counseled the most in here? Jonathan. I think it's Jonathan, right? And so he's been here almost every year. I think there were a few years we didn't let him come just because I think there was I forgot what happened. But other than that, he's been here probably ever since he was a camper himself, I believe. And so and then I know, a lot of y'all are repeat counselors. Y'all have done this for many years. Maybe some of y'all taking a break and you come back, and so we're super glad that you guys you're coming back. You're doing this year after year after year, and that's a lot. That's a lot, because as you get older, you know what happens? You don't get vacation, or you don't get summers, right? And so those of y'all in college, enjoy your summers now, because once you graduate, you got no summer vacation anymore. And you know what happens? They have to use their vacation, their paid time off, right? And so there's this thing called PTO, right? The PTO? PTO. All right, and it's like you get like 2 weeks off in a whole year, and yet they spend half of that with us. And so we're definitely grateful if you're really old in here and serving with us. It takes a lot of sacrifice, right? Like, I'd rather not spend my vacation, and this is my job. I don't have to take vacation to go to Boxwoods, right? I'd rather go, like, somewhere else where it's nicer. So, thank you for your sacrifice. And so, let's see, what do I got here? All right, so, as we kind of begin, I have here Nathan Award. We don't have it ready, but, you know, is Justin Huang in here? Huang. I'm Asian. I should get these Asian names, but no. Justin Huang? No? All right, he's supposed to be here. All right, so, well, he was first to register this year, and he gets the Nathan Award because he beat out Nathan Tan. Nathan Tan is the one who is always signing up first to be counselor, except for this year. And so, well, I guess we'll get him that shirt later. There's supposed to be a shirt, and this is going to be a thing for next year. So all y'all who are going to sign up next year to be counselors, get ready. Like you want the Nathan Award, right? It's going to get better and better. Maybe we'll pass on that T-shirt, and like we'll write names and we'll pass it on to the next person, like the Stanley Cup. How about that? Yeah, I think so. Hey. Pastor Robert thinks if you wash it in a washer, it's clean enough to wear. So he would wear other people's boxers because you put it in a washer. All right, sorry. Anyways, let's do that. It's like a Stanley Cup, but you pass it up. Stanley Cup, like NHL Stanley Cup trophy, not y'all's. Okay. Anyways. All right, so introductions. All right, Pastor Robert, who will wear dirty underwear. I know, I'm just kidding. So Pastor Robert, he's at Katy Church. Him and Jeremy over there. Jeremy, another thing. He's not working anymore. He has all the time in the world. He has no PTO. He's just but he's still volunteering, right? Like, it was just crazy because, again, he's got to go to all the practices, and he's doing stuff for free for us. So we're really grateful for Jeremy. I'm getting like a cramp, sorry. So them two, they're doing they're program directors along with Mimi here. So if y'all don't know Mimi, say hi, Mimi. All right. So she is, how long have you been a director at Katy? Oh, not Katy, W. A month in, fresh. Please don't scare her away from youth ministry. So help her out here. Like, if you have a W person, like, tell their kids to, like, love on Mimi so we don't scare her away. We want her to be here for, like, next 10 years and so. But, yeah, so them three are going to be part of doing the program directing. So if y'all have any questions on, hey, what do we do? What is going to happen? Like, what's going on in the sessions, talk to them. They are part of the program team. Program director. All right, so we got the man who needs no introduction, Justin. That's right. Justin, all right, Pastor Justin. So I'm going to ask y'all to refer to him as Pastor Reverend Dr. Justin Wong every time you see him at camp, okay? So if you text them, be like, hey, Pastor Reverend Dr. Justin Wong, I need this, right? So y'all have to do that. So, but he's going to be your counselor, pastor, whatever you need, go to him. So don't come to me. So go to him. He's going to take care of you guys. As you know, like the hospitality or anything that you need, go talk to him. So he's going to be, he's going to be sending out some of the counselor training stuff and more of the things that you guys need to prepare you spiritually. And again, I have like the logistical side of things. And so you'll get the logistical side, the easy side, and he's got the harder spiritual side of things. And so that's why he's the pastor, reverend doctor. But yeah, that's the staff. Any other staff on? I want to see one. All right, so that's just kind of a little bit about us, but I want to encourage you guys. Let me, as counselors, I want to thank you guys for being here again. I just want to encourage y'all. Like, what are we doing here? Like, what do we want from you? I know Pastor Justin is going to be going over expectations as a counselor, but I just kind of want to share just real quick with you guys from Luke chapter 9. Like, what do we want from y'all? Like, why are y'all here? What's our goal? And in Luke chapter 9, Jesus says, he says, Jesus says this. He says, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross daily and follow me. And he says, for whoever will save his life will lose it, but whoever will loses his life for my sake will save it. For what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses and forfeits himself? I just want to encourage you guys, as you guys are counselors, like our goal and our hope for y'all is, a lot of our youth, we could tell you, a lot of our youth these days, they're just kind of walking away, walking away from church, walking away from who Jesus is. Even at the end of Luke chapter 9, you'll see the three people, they come up to Jesus, I'll follow you, I'll follow you, I'll follow you. And then Jesus is like, no, I have nowhere to sleep, right? And Jesus telling them these things, and they don't follow him. They end up not following him. And even if you think about the rich young ruler, right? He's like, oh, what do I need? What do I need to be saved? And then Jesus tells him, hey, go and sell all the things that you have. And then the guy walks away sad, right? Like, it's kind of crazy to think that this rich man walks away sad. And I feel like where our youth are at, and at least where, maybe what I'm in some of my context, I feel like it is hard, where I feel like a lot are not walking with Christ, not seeing Jesus as good enough, not seeing Jesus as worth it, right? In this passage, Jesus says, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross. And our goal and our hope for you is that you would show our students and our campers that Jesus is worth it, right? Like Jesus is the best thing that they can have in life. And we want you to share that message with them, to show them that Christ is better, Christ is enough, and He's worth persecution. He's worth denying yourself. He's worth your desires, your pursuits, and everything about you. And so that's just kind of our hope. We'll give you a little bit more about that, but more expectations. But I just want to put that verse in your mind as counselors, is to show our students that following Christ is enough, like it's worth it. He's worthy of picking up our crosses, denying ourselves daily. And so that's just kind of a little bit about what you guys are doing here. But I want to give her kind of some of the logistics that we have here today, just some logistics of camp. And then we'll go over schedule. Then we'll talk about some other things. We'll get to other things in our training. So we're going. It ain't working. It's because y'all put that click to add subtitle. I promise y'all I didn't do that. Making me look good. All right. So here we go. Actually, we're going to go back. I tricked you. All right, I'm going to have Jeremy come up here because I'm going to have him come and share about the themes of camp. And so before we get to the logistics, so.
All right, just real quick, I'll introduce you guys a bit to the speakers. I mean, you'll get to meet them at camp. The speakers and the different themes that we're doing. We're actually doing, for the first time, at least since I've been here, 2 different themes for each camp. Well, it's one theme per camp, right? 2 different themes across 2 different camps. So for D camp, the speaker is a guy named Pastor York Liu. It's a pastor that I got connected with up in the Woodlands, and he will be speaking on spirit and truth. So spirit and truth is the theme for D camp. I believe the way that the speaking sessions are going to go is he's going to kind of give a gospel presentation. Since we're talking about middle schoolers here, a lot of them probably may have heard the gospel before, but they don't really understand. It doesn't really hit for them. So after kind of presenting that information to them, he's going to try to connect and kind of teach them what it looks like to live out worship authentically as a true worshiper. The theme verse is from John chapter 4, verses 23 and 24. It reads, "But the hour is coming and is now here when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father is seeking such people to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." So that's kind of the theme passage, and we're going to walk through with the kids what it looks like to live that out in your everyday Christian life. For Impact, the speaker is a guy named Sunroot Liu. It's a crazy name, I know. It's directly translated from Chinese, and he was actually my youth pastor back in the day in California. So he's flying in from Southern California to speak to us, with us, and be together with the high schoolers. His theme is going to be handmade. And handmade comes from Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 through 10. For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works which God prepared in advance for us to do. And so the whole theme of Camp Impact is, what does it look like that you're specifically created by God? You're a unique individual. You have certain giftings that God has given you that you both need to learn how to appreciate about yourself, but then learn how to apply in your life. How can I utilize the special giftings that God and the way that God has created me to be to continue to help other people thrive and to flourish in their Christian living. And so these are kind of the two separate themes that we have. Obviously, you guys will get more and more familiar with that as camp goes on. But yeah, if you have any more questions about that, I'm sure you can ask some of the pastors around about what they're going to be speaking on. So give it back to Stanley.
Thanks, Jeremy. So yeah, you'll have a chance to meet with the speakers at the first meeting and anything like that. So, but just to let you guys know what to do and what few logistical things for y'all. Where do you need to be, right? I think you should have received an email earlier this week, but where do you need to be? So if you're a decamp counselor, you're going to be there on Sunday. You're going to be here next Sunday, here by 1 o'clock. No earlier, but be here 1 o'clock. And then, so impact counselors, you're going to be here as well, but on Wednesday at 10:15, I think. 10:15 a.m., unless you're already at decamp. And so just make sure you know when you need to be here. And so I have to think, don't be afraid to ask how you can help. And so once you get here, once you kind of know where you put your bags, I would say, is there anyone they can find, Justin, or they should find you to help? All right, so find Justin, see how you can help. But if anything, just kind of be on hand and be there to be ready to help in any way. So what happens, and then once you get to camp, I think it'll be pretty important that you guys are just available to help the kids, especially at decamp, to help the kids to find luggage. I think it'll be kind of crazy. What's been helpful is as the Boxwood staff, they come in and they bring all the luggage, and I think they just put it onto the basketball court. And then it's just kind of a big scramble. It's kind of like, where's my bag? Where's my bag? It should be kind of close to the bus, but I think decampers will need a little bit more help on finding their bags and probably even rolling their bags to the cabins. It's not really a smooth road. There's kind of like the wood chips and everything like that, or maybe some of the girls, you're going down the hill closer to the lake, and it's just a little bit more difficult to kind of move their luggage. And so I would say help them find their bags, show them where to go. The younger, if you see that they're like really little, you'll know that it's probably their first or second time. They just don't know where to go. I would just say help them out. Impact, I think y'all might be okay on helping out. But I would say just be around, be helpful with there. And so, yeah, and then both camps, we're going to have counselor meeting at 4 p.m. In the yard house. And so I know decamp, well, we were like, should we have it for decamp? I think we will still have it, just because decamp is a little more tight on time. I think we leave here around 2:30 or so. Well, yeah, no, actually we leave here around 2. So we get there around 3:30. It takes time to get off and kind of get settled. But yeah, it's a little bit rushed for time, but I think we can still do a counselor meeting 4 p.m. in the yard house. Y'all can't see that, can y'all? Is it just all? No, y'all can't see. All right, I'll send this out to y'all in an email. You can see it a lot closer. But yard house, if you see, is on the top right side. And so if you haven't been, you just look at this map when I send it to you in email. But I think for those of you who have been to camp, yard house is the one on the top right, and that's where we're going to be meeting. If you don't know, I would say just kind of find anyone, go to the hangar, which is the big meeting space, find someone, ask someone where it is. And so, but yeah, so that's going to, I'm going to have you guys meet there 4 o'clock first thing for each camp, and we'll meet there. And so that's kind of first day, what you guys need to do, where you need to be, just to kind of help you get settled. Any questions so far on anything on first day or anything? Okay. All right, and then what's going to happen is, again, right after our counselor orientation, we're going to move over to camp orientation. That's 5 o'clock in the hangar, and that's kind of our first session. You'll meet your small groups there, and so we'll let you guys. I think the MCs will kind of go through each counselor, introduce y'all, and then they'll come and find you. So you will have a little short time of small group, just kind of get to know them the first day after orientation. So a typical day, I just really want to go through this real quick. It's not too different from most camps, if anything. I just want you guys to know this is what to expect. This is what you're going through. It's going to be very similar to last year for Impact, for DCamp. And so, so you start with breakfast at 8 o'clock. And so one thing that I'll ask you guys to do is make sure all your campers go to breakfast or they're up for breakfast, okay? And so I know Impact, this might be a little bit more difficult because I guess I think older students just want to sleep in. They don't want to get up and they don't want to be there. So if you do have problems, if you do run into people that aren't listening to you, just come and talk to us and we'll try to get them to come out. But so we do want everyone at breakfast. They don't have to eat too much, but we do want them out just so that they can get ready for morning prayer. This is going to be in the hangar, and so so that's right next to you there, right next to where the food is served, and then devotionals, and so I would say if you can, if you have new campers, right, people who aren't in the church. In your council sheet, you can see, hey, who maybe you can see like what church they're at or what church they don't go to, or if they're like a non-Christian like that. And so, I would spend the first day or so doing a quiet time, doing the devotionals with, just kind of going through with them, kind of showing them what to do. And so, and then we have our morning session. Morning session, it's like kind of like in general, like we have our games, you have our speaker, we have music worship, and all that. I would encourage y'all, we want to encourage you to, at these sessions, we want to encourage you to be at the sessions, but also make sure your students are at all the sessions. I don't know how true this is. I'm going to have to confirm this with y'all. I had this one grandma come in, talk to me this morning. She told me, hey, you need to make sure all the kids are not in the cabins. Apparently last year, there was some kid who was not at the main sessions, and they were in the cabins stealing stuff. No? Did that happen? I don't know. And then what happened was that kid got caught by another kid, and then that kid who was stealing stuff punched our kid. Or not punched our kid, punched the other kid who caught them. Was that something? Y'all hear that first? First I heard it. You knew about this? Okay, I want to talk about that. I don't know about it. Yeah, apparently, so what basically though, we do want to ask, I think that was middle school though, so, but we do want to ask, like, hey, make sure your kids, your whole group, your whole small group is at these sessions. I know, again, Impact, if they miss breakfast, they're definitely missing morning prayer and then probably sleeping into devotionals. Like, we've had those situations where we do cabin checks and they're just still in bed. They're hiding in their sleeping bags and whatnot. And so, so we just ask you guys to help us to do that. That might even be counselor expectations later. But yeah, so then we have forced fun, some sort of game, and then lunch, and then after lunch. So Impact, again, you guys, if you're an Impact counselor, you have family time. So we do want to make sure that you are preparing for those family times. It's about an hour, just kind of an activity with your family group. And then also DCamp, you just got like 3-4 hours of free time. And so, but also, again, during those free times, though, you are setting up your one-on-ones with your campers. And so we will recommend that you guys schedule them on the first day, a small group. So we'll have a little bit more instructions on like signing up for the boat rides and things like that. They have a new system that they want to try this year, so we'll let you know how to do that. And then dinner, evening session again, same things. Make sure your people are there, and then small group time. So small group time, and again, being prepared, having icebreakers the first day and whatnot, and just kind of, I'll remind you guys of things that you'll need to do, kind of scheduling things with your campers, and also just kind of finding out what they need if they forgot anything. And then we end every night, most nights, with a counselor meeting. Just kind of hear if you guys have any questions. We want to hear just how things went, ways that we can help you, and ways that we just want to encourage you during that time. So counselor meeting, and then as you see, Impact Day 2, we have a force fund, and so we'll probably have like a short counselor training or counselor meeting after that. And so that's a typical day. Any questions on anything? I know I'm zooming through this. I think my time is up, but anything that y'all need? All right. So one more thing, to-do list. So I've sent out 2 emails. If you have not received these emails, let me know you haven't received these emails. But we do need all these things from you guys. So background check. You should have received a separate email with that. AOR forms, and so I'll probably have the slide up later on, making sure y'all do this. And so we do need you guys to do all these things: children abuse prevention training, and then two things: driving to camp. If you're driving to camp, so we do want everyone to go to take the bus. But if for some reason, like you're going to the wedding after Impact, or if you're coming in late or anything like that, you're coming from out of town. Let me know, and then just so that I can work with you on driving to camp. And so let me know, email that one. And so lastly, bus captains, Mimi is going to be.
Hey, I'll just sit right here. My portion, thank you, Justin. I am really grateful. I am also very new at this. I really understand where you guys are coming from. My first time counseling was actually last year. So I'm just the second time. And I am someone that did not grow up in church. And so when I was even thinking about this training, I was like, wow, this is amazing that you guys have the opportunity. Because I never grew up in church. I never went to camp. And I was really going through a lot of difficult things when I was in my youth. So I think it's such a sweet time when I think about my own youth experience that you guys have. So it's really a privilege. So for my session, so Justin did a great job zooming out and looking at youth culture. And so for my session, we're going to do zooming in. And when you're sitting there with your kids, how do you lead? Because the sad thing is you don't have a partner. Some of you guys have lucky. You will be paired up with someone. But usually most of you guys are by yourself. So let's do a raise of hands. How many of y'all have led some type of Bible study before? Okay, most of you guys. And some people have never, yes. So I totally get it. For those who have not, this can be so overwhelming. How do I even start? Who do I even look at? There's so many people. So we're going to go ahead and, next slide, please. We're going to think about what is our goal. So our goal is going to shape everything that we do. And I hope that all of you guys are here because you do want to create a safe place for others and especially youth to experience the gospel and to really move closer to Jesus. And I'm including you guys too. When I did camp last year, I just felt like God really spoke to me in my own journey. And it was very convicting. So let's look at 3 ingredients I thought of that would be helpful in accomplishing this goal. So next slide, please. Thank you. So we have gospel, safety, and time. So gospel, this is the heart of our faith. This is the good news. Safety, what does it mean to want these young kids to bare their soul? How do I even do that? I can barely ask them. I don't know about you guys. I can be very awkward. I can barely lead a conversation for 5 minutes. So how am I supposed to lead them to salvation? And time, what does it mean to surrender and trust that God is working even though I can't see it and even though I might just be planting a seed and I won't really know until a decade later that they have received Christ. So let's go to the next slide. We'll go through each one. We're going to start with gospel. Number one thing is who is my audience and why do they even need the gospel in their life? Next slide. I used to be a biology teacher before I took this role. So I love science. So how do we know our audience? We're going to zoom in and look into their brain. So this is actually research done on child psychology. Have you guys done psychology yet? I love psychology. Yeah, so you would know about developmental stages, right? So usually in babies, they're just literally learning how to communicate. When they're toddlers, they're learning not to take things so literally. But by age 7 to 12, which some of you guys have, they're only 11, they only can think in terms of concrete things, things that are right in front of them. And because of that, they really need things that are tangible. So they need props and they need objects. So when you're spitting out words, when you're spitting out scripture at them, it's really hard for them to understand. And because they're so concrete, they can only relate to something that's familiar in their life. So if you're talking about a God who is loving and a father who will always be there, imagine a kid who maybe didn't grow up with a dad or maybe didn't grow up with a really good family. So how can they relate to something if they never experienced it before? So I want you guys to understand, where are my kids developmentally and what can they understand? So here's some tip and tricks that I think are very helpful when I was a teacher. I taught ninth grade. Next slide. It's really good to harness their energy for good. So especially for the boy counselors, these boys are crazy. So in my church, we have these twins, and they literally are bouncing off the walls. And I realized we just need to give them time to release that energy, especially if you guys are coming off from a sermon and they've just been sitting there for 1 hour. And so when you guys go into small group, can you imagine asking them to sit again? So I recommend, even just if you have an hour, it's worth it to just spend that 10 minutes to even to get to know them, but in a physically active way. And so I want you guys to know that you have creativity. So you do not have to be sitting down you could be a square, you can be sitting in a star, you can be standing near, you can be small group, maybe not in the water, but somewhere else that they would help them to focus. And I would highly recommend even taking breaks, because if you guys get tired, they definitely get tired way faster. And what I learned in teaching is that they can only focus of how old they are. So if let's say they're only 11, then yes, you have them for 11 minutes. And so you guys are barely 20, so I can barely keep you guys for 20 minutes. And a really good thing is using tangible objects. So for example, let's say you want to ask, how is your relationship with God? And then what type of answers do you guys think they would give me? Good? Bad? Yep, that's great. Yes, nothing probably. So I really like using tangible objects. So I would bring things. Let's say I have a soda can. So I would crush it. I'll have a water bottle. I have a pen. Let's say I have a book. And then I'm like, using these objects, pick the object that you best describes your relationship with God. And some people actually pick the can, and it's amazing to be like, actually, yeah, I see that the brokenness in this can, and I don't know how to describe it with my words, but I just feel that this is, my relationship. And I have something that I really love using in the next slide. This is called the blob test. Has anyone saw this before? Yes, my youth would know. I love using the blob test. So if you guys see, they are cute little blobs numbered from 1 through, I see 16. This is done in research, especially with children, and this can go across any language. This is used to just help children communicate their emotions that they can't really articulate yet. I use this with any questions. I can be like, how was your day? How was this week for you? Which blob would represent you? You can even ask them, which blob would you like to be? How would you describe your relationship with God using this blob? How do you feel about the small group leading? How is your relationship with your parents? And so I want you guys to actually pair up someone next to you guys. It's kind of hard to see, but you can just kind of describe the blob. One of them is falling down. Someone can look at 4. One person told me, like, I'm just chill, like I'm relaxing, but then someone else used number 4 in the bottom as I'm depressed, like I can't get up. So that's why there's no right or wrong answer for this blob test. So even for my small group, I would print this out and give it to everyone, and so they can actually point to something rather than just using good, bad, or nothing. So go ahead and pair up with someone next to you. If you guys can see the blobs, you can tell me how do you feel about small group leading? So rather than just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can actually use one of the blobs. So go ahead and share. Okay, I'm gonna pick on one of you guys. Let's do. What is your name? Joshua. Okay, Joshua. Which blob did you pick?
Oh, I picked the one that's climbing just because leading like a small group. It's either been I haven't done it in a while, and I kind of need a refresher, so just kind of like climbing my way back up to it. Yeah.
And which one would you like to be?
Uh, Hopefully the one at the top.
Which one?
The one that's just standing there looking a bit confident. Yeah.
I hope you're okay too. Yes, let's have one of the girls share. Natalie, right?
I said number 15. Like, I'm excited, but also like just need to hold on for security. Yeah.
Yes, I think that's great that you would share that. And these kids, so I want you guys to imagine, especially the cute little sixth graders, a lot of them are also scared. So as nervous as you guys are, they're really nervous. And some of these camps are the best time of their lives, but imagine the kids who's really lonely or didn't have friends or their just parents just signed them up. Sometimes this camp could be really hard and really honestly traumatizing. So I want you guys to also, if you guys feel nervous, you communicate that and they would feel so much better knowing that they're not alone. And so yes, that feeling is very normal. I felt that way last year too. Let's go to the next one. I forgot what. Okay, so now we're gonna move. So that was D camp. We're gonna move on to you guys, age 12 plus, including me. So we are in our formal operational stage. So this is still in adolescence. Now they're gaining a little bit more cognitive skills. They can understand abstract problems, but look at their new abilities: speculating, empathizing, doubting, emoting, self-perceiving. I call this puberty. So, have you guys watched Inside Out yet? Yes. Look at all those emotions. Look at all those new emotions. These people, especially the boys, they're just beginning puberty, and girls are in the middle of it. So that's why there's this turbulent tornado of emotions and figuring out who they are and how can you even imagine who God is if they don't have no idea what's going inside of them. So these are some tools that I actually use for myself too, having to know your audience. So next slide. I give my youth some names. So, there should be next slide. Oh yes, okay. It's a little hard to see. Oh yeah, it's really hard to see. But I'll read out some of you guys. So, usually I ask my kids before I had to this there. I was like, oh, like what, how would you describe God in your life? They're like, he's like good, he's big, powerful. But if you actually give words, he is my wisdom, he's my shield, he's my deliverer, counselor, and having this list in front of them, they can actually pick like, wow, I actually would like to call him my healer. I would like to call him my provider. But these kids are not going to come up with these names in their head, so it makes it way less overwhelming. I highly recommend printing out a list and having this in front of them. Like, how would you like to, how has God spoken in your life? And if you don't know who God is, which of these would you like him to be for you? On the other side, on the right, it says, my identity in Christ. So I am always redeemed. I'm always chosen. I'm always blessed. And you can even show them this list, and you can be like, which of these sound attractive to you? Would you like, and then when they pick the word, it kind of like what Justin said, it will automatically reveal what they've been longing for. And they're not going to tell you, I've been wanting to feel chosen. But when they actually see it, they're like, wow, I really resonate with this word. So I highly recommend giving them something tangible to actually pick from. Next slide. This is also one of my favorite ways. I do this with all my friends too. So you can do this in your own. Has anyone seen the emotion wheel before? Yes, my youth. Good job, Zoe. This is amazing. So if you guys see in the middle, it's joy, love, fear. I can't read that purple one. Sadness, surprise. So those are the 4 core emotions, but if you extend it out, look at the plethora of options you have. So usually when I ask my youth, how are you guys doing today? They're like, I'm bored, I'm sad, I'm anxious. But then when I give them this wheel, I force them, like, okay, let's say you're surprised, but were you like confused or were you perplexed? Or let's look at sadness. Are you feeling guilty or are you feeling lonely? Those are two completely different emotions. So when I actually force them to pick these emotions, it helps them articulate it, and it's another avenue for you to figure out what are they longing for, what are those gospel needs they're seeking, and honestly, this is a great way for you guys too, because we are also developing in our emotional maturity. I don't think I can name these just on the top of my head. And so this is just a tool for you as well to resonate. Like, hey, let me think in my head, when have I felt guilty or when have I felt regretful of something? So these are all tools of helping, knowing that these are age 12 plus, they're going through that time where they're just discovering of what it means to have self-reflection and emotions. Next slide. This is still on the gospel. So now as you guys are getting to know your youth, they also should be knowing you guys. So this is in 1 Peter 3:15. But in your hearts, honor Christ the Lord as holy, always being prepared to make a defense to anyone who asks you for a reason for the hope that is in you. Yet do it with gentleness and respect. When I first heard this, I'm like, wow, I'm a very soft person. I do not know how to make a debate. But when I read gentleness and respect and always having a reason for the hope, I'm like, wow, I realized that's just sharing my testimony. And so I realized God is asking me to be ready to not only share my testimony, but I have to be ready to be vulnerable at any time. And that really stood out to me. What does it mean to be able to share my testimony at any time? I wanted to just give some encouraging words because how many of you guys grew up in the church? I think we answered this a little bit before. Okay, yes, most of my youth also grew up in the church. And what is a typical testimony? What's the typical first line in the baptism? I grew up in the church. My parents took me to church. I basically came out the womb in the church. And I feel like a lot of my youth, they feel very insecure in their testimony. Like, I don't have this crazy testimony. I didn't go down this dark route of drugs and got saved by Jesus. But the thing is, it takes away the amazing things that God has done in your life. You have lived over a decade. That means there's a decade worth of testimonies. So next slide, I want to show you guys what are different ways you can share your testimony in order to being prepared to make defense to anyone who asks you for the hope that's in you. So next slide, please. Okay, and this is what I learned when I was on the mission field. So I would literally go out and I would talk to strangers, we would get so discouraged. Like, this is a foreign land. I don't think I can relate to them. But my team leader told me every soul has a maze in their heart. So if you're ever going through a maze, you're gonna run into all these closed trap doors, and it's very frustrating. But knowing that you're led by the Holy Spirit in a way, you'll be guided, and there's always going to be a path towards the center, which is going to be their heart need. And so for me, I realized, what is a way for me to understand my testimony so I'm able to share in any way? So for example, this is not me, but one of my friends, he's deathly allergic to peanuts. And then we were doing missions in Vietnam. And if you guys ever ate Vietnamese food, there's lots of peanuts everywhere. And they are really not the type there that would do to care about cross-contamination. And so one of the Vietnamese people, they're like, why are you here? Like, you could have went to Japan or Korea, yet you chose to go to Vietnam. Why would you risk your life to do something like that? And then he's like, yeah, I am deathly allergic to peanuts, but I'm not scared of death. And this is why I'm not scared of death. So he used his allergies that God gave him that probably was very annoying, and yet he used it for the gospel. So your testimony does not have to be when I grew up in the church and this is what happened and this is when your testimony can even just be Hurricane Barrel. Like when you lost that power, what did it mean of you losing things, but deeper down that you experienced like a deeper community that Jesus will always be with you even if you lose everything else in your life. You can even do a lot of them care about school. So there were many ways to sharing academic. Like I remember asking my girls, what is the worst thing about not getting into college? And somehow they led it to death. Somehow they're like, my parents will kick me out and then I'll die. I was like, but I think I realized ultimately they were scared of death. Somehow we led academics to death. And in relating to that, what's so scary about losing your life? So yeah, be ready to share vulnerably of maybe times that you felt isolated or alone, and it would be a way to enter into their maze and into their heart. Mhm. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the second one is, so we had gospel. So that's number one main ingredient. Second main ingredient is how to make a safe environment so that I'm even able to hear what's on their heart so they can receive the gospel. So next slide. These are actually all things I learned from my classroom. So I realized I really needed clear expectations and rules for my classroom. I honestly wanted to be the cool teacher, so I was like, yeah, Miss Lamb is cool. Like, I don't need to pick up their phones. But then later on, they're like, Miss Lamb, please pick up their phones. Because one guy was like playing a Candy Crush in front of him, so he was watching him. So he couldn't focus because someone else was playing. So I realized that because it's not just one kid. If even just one kid is distracted, it's gonna distract the whole group. So realizing that it's your responsibility to set expectations that helps create a safe environment. We cannot assume the students know what we're doing, or even we have the same goal. Your goal might be to create a safe environment so people can grow closer to Jesus. Their goal might be to play I'll go on the banana boat like 3 times. So having 2 different goals, you need to set the expectations. You need to tell them we are here, yes, to have fun, but to really have a party for Jesus and how to have a safe environment to share. I would highly recommend, especially middle schoolers, to be very clear with attendance. You are expected to be here. I expect to participate. I encourage and I would love to hear you participate. What does it look like to respect each other? Especially the boys, they love touching each other. So yes, so keep that in mind. What does it mean to be respectful? If someone is talking, don't talk over them. And especially technology. So I hope that you guys remember to bring your physical Bibles and encouraging them. I'm going to be tech free. I'm going to put my phone right in the middle with everyone else. So having really clear expectations and saying this from the very first day and saying it and repeating it every day. So that's what I had to do in my classroom. I had to tell them no phones for the first 3 months. Even when they were testing, I was like, I can see your phone. I gave them a 0. So another clear expectation is to incorporate everyone in sharing, especially since we are coming from a Chinese heritage background. A lot of these kids don't have that experience of someone intentionally asking them all these deep questions. So we can't expect them to share because they're like, this is the first time anyone has ever asked me. My parents, a lot of them have language barriers, so no one has really had these. So you have to give them a little grace. What I like to do, this is a teaching method, and I just already did it with y'all. It's called Think, Pair, Share. So let's say I asked the question, how did you feel about small group leading? And let's say it was maybe no one answered me, so I'm like, okay, why don't we share with a partner? I'll give you guys 1 minute. And they always talk. Every time, they will always share, and it actually helps them feel like, oh, I'm jogging my memory. And then when you come back, you're like, oh, let's hear from this partner. Or would you like to share what your partner said? So it really helps for our shy students. And this is one of my favorite teaching methods. It's called wait time. So they taught us in teaching is that when a student answers, you actually should wait 3 to 5 full Mississippi seconds before you saying anything. And I realized how impatient I was because they would say something, and even when someone's sharing a story, I'm like, oh, I make like a reaction like, wow. Or like, but I realize the reactions are fine, but I realize I'm so tempted to insert myself. So let's do an example. We're gonna ask Pastor Justin a question, and let's exercise my wait time. Let's say, what was the most difficult part of this week for you, Pastor Justin? Anything, anything else? See, he continued. He mad, and then he added sad. I was like, I realized because they're thinking, and I realized we don't give them enough time to think. because we're so quick to say something insightful and wise. So I realized wait time, and this actually helps with your friends. I highly encourage doing wait time. And people love talking about themselves, so just give them time. It's true. So next, please. Okay, this is really important, especially for middle schoolers. I'm sure you guys learn Cornell notes in high school, and because your teacher is trying to give you structure. So I highly recommend, especially those who are non-believers, they don't know what a sermon is, they don't know anything. I highly recommend giving them maybe a suggestion. This is one suggestion. You guys can make your own, maybe even introduce how you take notes. This is one suggestion for youth is, let's say, you can explain what sermons are. They're giving insights on scripture, and they hit these 3 targets: head, heart, hands. So you can have your kids draw out 3 sections when they're listening to sermons, like, hey, every time you hear something you learned about scripture that is knowledge about God, you can write it in the head. I learned something new about God. Maybe you felt something. Maybe you felt a little sad that like this woman got neglected. That made you feel something. Put it in the heart section. And maybe when the pastor said something like, oh, now we're gonna, pray for our enemies. Oh, I feel like that's something I can do. I'm going to write it in my hands section. So giving clear structure to these kids help a lot, because once they come back, you can engage. Like, what did you guys write in your heart section? What did you guys write in your hand section? You can even make it a competition. Kids love competition. So you can even ask, how many words do you not know? Or how many questions can you write? And then see how many them can write. So there's so many ways to help them structure. You can even give them basic, like, this is how you write down the sermon on top, write the date, write the verse over here, draw a picture over here. So you would think that sounds very kiddish, but no, these kids, I was a teacher, they need help. They're academically very behind, and they really actually crave structure, and especially for the kids who have never been here before to camp. So yeah, this is just giving them more and giving them a safe environment to learn. Imagine how overwhelmed they feel listening to a sermon. So giving them will have them have a safe environment too. Next. Okay, this is a quote I found. A student is not theologically aware until they are emotionally safe. I read that. I was really thinking like, maybe these students might have really hard questions like, what do you feel about abortion? What do you feel about the presidency? And you guys might be freaking out and like, I don't know how to answer these questions. But kind of like what Pastor Justin said, you have to understand why they're asking that. Maybe they're asking about, wow, is God a really good God? Like, I don't know if I can trust this God, because how can he care if these are my misconceptions about him? So what does it mean to just give them time to ask questions, and giving them and actually encouraging, I want to hear your questions and I'm here, because most likely at their church, maybe they're easily dismissed about weird questions they have. So next. Okay, here is things just to encourage you guys what it means, how long it takes to really love on these students. Understand and honor what the students need above what we want. This really stuck to me when I was a teacher. I wanted a very nice and structured classroom, no one talking, no one beating each other up, so I don't have to call the principal, no one doing drugs, because I caught them doing weed. That's what I wanted, but I feel like what the kids needed, they really needed love and care, and I realized what I wanted from them, I wasn't really acknowledging what they need. So they just needed someone to validate and to hear their emotions. Some of them are not ready for that, so they are not sharing, and then you might feel really frustrated. But what does it mean to keep persevering and asking them that same question in a different way, maybe sharing first or giving them different ways to answer the question? And to have them feel, because if you feeling frustrated, they're definitely can sense it and they're gonna just shut down. But what does it mean to understand that God is patient with us when we are on our own spiritual growth, and that they're not pressured to have a certain answer for you? Next. So one of the best times to really give them that time is your one-on-ones. So since you guys are first times, next one. Oops, sorry. So one-on-ones, you guys, almost every day, you guys have almost 4 hours to plan one-on-ones. And for me, I was like, last year, I was like, what am I supposed to do on these one-on-ones? And I realized, basically at the very end, this is helping them, this is your one. chance to share the gospel and also to where they're at. So you can, this is a, when you guys finish camp, they're gonna send you out this evaluation and they're gonna have this whole list of questions. These are some of the questions. I just took a couple. Does your camper, do they consider themselves Christians? Where are they spiritually? Are they a seeker, committed? Are they baptized? I highly recommend you guys asking them, can you share the gospel to me? And then going off from there. So do you know what sin is? How would you say God is? Who is Jesus to you? Why did Jesus have to die? And then asking them what obstacles they're struggling with in their spiritual walk. What is their relationship with church? How do you feel about church? How many times do you go to church? Have you been baptized? Do you serve? How about your family? And sometimes I feel like these kids will share things that they have never shared with before. So that's actually really important because you're actually gonna keep that in mind. I highly recommend jotting notes or the voice noting, and then at the very end, when you guys put in that information, it actually gets sent to the youth pastors and youth workers so that they can actually continue praying and loving on that kid, knowing with the knowledge that you guys have given. So this is actually quite helpful. Do they send these questions out? Okay, Justin will send them out. But for me, it actually helps reading through all these questions and trying to get the main ones so I remember. Because I remember actually my first one-on-one, I didn't know about this. So I was just having a great one-on-one, like, how was school? And I had no idea that I was supposed to ask any of these questions. So this is quite helpful. And it gives them, so you can be like, I'm not interviewing you. I'm just here to I just want to get to know you. I want to know your life. But also knowing that this is a great time to share your testimony as well. Okay, and then the last thing, so this is just a recap of how to structure your small group time. And it could look very different for each group. I think the last slide, yes, thank you. So we did give out sermon and notes. So I highly recommend reading them for you guys for homework to really think about the theme, review them first. And then when you guys are taking notes, you can think of questions to ask your students. Always having some type of icebreaker or opening question. And even if you guys do a fun icebreaker, I highly recommend doing it as a way to get to know them. So yes, you can still be physical, but try to at least memorize each other's names. What I do with my girls, they really need to know. They need to recall the sermon back to me. So I don't do it. I let them do it. So like I ask them, what was the main idea? What do you think? What was his main question? What was the funniest story? So have them recap it back to you, and then you can fill in the context, and then you can go into discussion questions. They're going to be giving you discussion questions. Feel free to use your own, what you feel like your kids need. And of course, at the very end, to really wrap it up and share how does this relate back to the good news? How does this relate to your life? And what does it mean to have grace and mercy in their lives and applying that there? So I think that is it. Yes, thank you. Yes, I think we are gonna move on to a break.
All right, we're gonna give you guys a quick 5-minute break. If you guys need to use the bathroom or jump around or get some candy, we'll see you guys in about 5 minutes. Hey Stan, I'm gonna give this group right now about 5 minutes to break real quick, and then they're gonna come back. 45. All right. Steven, you one of the old guys now? You one of the old guys now? Old guys? Top, the old 10? We should make a T-shirt. The old 10. The oldest 10 people at camp. Do you fit in that category? No. How do you know? Yeah, it goes all the way down to you. Are you top 10 really? Me, Stan, Robert, you. No, it's all of us. You, Jonathan. I don't know who else is there. Nobody. Is James? How old is James? Dang, that young? Dude, we should do it. We should do a T-shirt. The top 10, the old man's club. Old man's club. We should do it. We should make T-shirts every year for stuff. Hey, let people know Stan's birthday's Impact. He's turning 40. He crosses the 40 mark at Impact. Which day? I don't remember. Let me see. His birthday's on the 26th. He doesn't want us to do anything, but I'm not gonna listen to that. Is it? All right, guys. As you guys are coming in real quick, I don't know if this is gonna work, but if you're veteran and you're first timers, can you guys pair up real quick? Yeah, let's just try that real fast. If you're a veteran and a first timer, buddy up real quick. You can All right, you got like 20 seconds to do this. Aaron Chan, find you a buddy. Let's go. All right, y'all can spread out so you don't cheat. Y'all good? Once y'all get in your pairs, just raise your hand real quick so I know you're kind of paying attention. All right, here we go. If you're in your pair, go ahead and raise your hand. All right. If you're in your pair, all right. Half you guys aren't listening still. Okay. Welcome to camp. All right. I'll repeat the rules again. If you are coming in, if you're a veteran, find a rookie. If you're a rookie, find a veteran real quick. You just buddy up. You're not going to be stuck forever. I'm just trying to break the ice. All right. This is part of counselor expectations. I expect you counselors to do this. Are we good? Kinda? Yeah? All right, guys. Hey, eyes up real quick. What I want you to do is I want you to share 2 bullet points from your session that you just learned with the other person, all right? 2 things that you learned, either about yourself or that someone taught, whatever that the people need to know, all right? So you're on the clock. You get a minute each person, and then we're going to close it at the 2-minute mark, all right? Set, go. Josh, can you cue up the expectation slide? Okay, that's about it. All right. This next portion of counselor training is just basic expectations. I just want to go through this with you guys just so that we'll put all our cards on the table just so you guys know what to expect from us, what we can expect from you guys, and what other groups are expecting out of us. We can do that real quick, all right? Is that good? Y'all good? Okay. So I'm just, you don't have to, I hate saying you don't take notes, but we're going to send this to you guys. But if you could just pay attention to us. We're going to start with the first group real quick. So get next slide. This is probably the most neglected group that's expecting anything from any of us. It's the parents. And so this was a new training for us just because a lot of times, look, I know you guys are excited to go there. There's a ton of stuff. I know it's going to be with students the whole time. But I don't ever want to forget the group that we're working with, right? And this is the parents. As a youth pastor, I get about 7 to 8 hours a week at most with our students, and that's all year long. Whereas I know the parents is going to be the main discipleship arm of the students. Does that make sense? If we put all our eggs in the camp basket, right, it's going to be a horrible win-loss ratio, right? We do not, you guys are cool, but you're not that cool to where it'll sustain them for a whole nother year. Does that make sense? And so the parents are the big ones. And so I had to interview a bunch of parents asking, hey, when you drop off your kids and you guys go have lunch and brunch and enjoy yourselves, what do you expect from us, right? Like, what do you expect from our counselors this week? And so there's 3 responses. You can go to the next slide real quick. This is what 9 out of 10 of them said, right? Even like the most veteran parents who have a bajillion kids who go to the camp, they said, I want to make sure that my kids feel connected. Again, not only post-COVID, but just where they're at right now. And when they say connected, I'm like, can you give me a little bit more? They're saying, hey, although my kid has a lot of friends online or whatever, they don't feel emotionally, spiritually, psychologically connected to another human being, right? I know my kid is lonely, right? Whereas in some cases, it's like, hey, my kid has no friends. They don't know how to make friends. They're socially awkward. And I'm hoping that at camp, they will make friends, which for some of you guys, this is kind of, right? Because you're just like, oh, I just make friends with anybody. But for some of them, right, even your testimony is, hey, camp, it's hard, right? But I asked the parents, hey, what do you want from us? We can't make them be friends with anyone, right? Or force friendship, but we can cultivate that, right? At least we can cultivate what community and connection looks like. And so, counselors, hear me as, again, my daughters are coming into camp in 2 years. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, it's soon. And so as a parent, as a future parent of a child, I'm like, I want my kids to do this. And the connection isn't just make friends there, but I want my kids to know kids from other youth groups as well. You guys can help cultivate some of that as well. You know what I mean? And so if you're brand new to this too, you're just like, wait, what? Just imagine that kind of that deep soul level. I want to be connected. I want to be heard. And so help them kind of be connected that way. All right. Number 2 real quick. Parents are expecting, and this is kind of a 3-parter, they expect safety. All right. And that's kind of what that's going to look like. They want their kids to be safe. They want them to have fun. They want to enjoy. But they do want your kids, whoever's in your small group, to be safe. What happens typically if they break something or that's beyond a cut or a bruise or something that our medics can handle, we got to send them home. So the way we do that is the parents have to drive up an hour and a half, depending on where in Houston you are, to go pick them up and then drive an hour and a half back, right? And so we, again, play games, do crazy stuff that you could get away with at camp, but please don't injure the kids, right? Like, just be smart about it. If you're just like, okay, kids, we're just gonna play dodgeball with rocks, like, that's not gonna be good, right? Or like, let's just chug 4 gallons of milk and see if our, whoever throws up first. Like, just be wise. This is not the 90s where I grew up. in youth group, and so we can't do like things that will, whatever. So they want their kids to be safe, right? Part of it there. They want them also to feel emotionally safe, right? Like this is a big kind of thing. They don't want their kids to be bullied. So again, I think this can happen in both guys and girls small groups, but specifically the guys ones, right? Watch how you guys talk and use your language, right? It can be joking, it can be sarcastic, it can be like, hey, our love language is to pick on that guy, even if that guy can handle it, right? Or it's you. Like, if you can set the stage of, hey guys, I know we're really cool with one another, or we're all seniors and stuff, and that's your thing, but hey, can we try to kind of like make this a place where we encourage, right? And so parents are asking like, hey, they get bullied all the time. Can you guys make sure that my kid isn't the brunt of it? Like Mike, again, this is testimony. My kid is a strong kid, right? They get it from a lot of their friends, but I know that they hurt, right? Does that make sense? Y'all, when you have your kids of your own, like it's heartbreaking, right? Because you see them and they're fun, they're around them, and then they come home and they're like, hey man, what's wrong? They're like, hey, I just got made fun of a lot today. Right? Does that make sense? You guys can change some of that narrative, and so help that there with it. And then they want their kids to grow spiritually. They really do. They want them to play. They want them to have fun. They really want you guys, them to meet you. For all they know right now, you counselors are the greatest thing that's going to happen to a lot of the kids this year. You guys volunteer, you're smart, you're part of a church, you guys look really good, right? Like, they want their kids to be like, hey, like, I want you to meet these upstanding citizens of, these churches. I want you guys to be like them. And so the parents are going, hey, do that. And they will go, hey, but we want y'all as counselors to help our kids grow. And again, we were trying to help our parents have a tempered expectation to be like, hey, look, our counselors are great, we vet them, but they're not going to save your kids, right? They're not their messiahs. And so you guys have fun, build relationships, really short time, but help them grow, right? It's at the behest of the parents. And so, does that make sense? Y'all got that? Okay, so real quick, connecting with others, safety, right, and growth. Okay, so turn to your person again. Pick one of those three. For you, which one is going to be the easiest that you guys can help foster, you think, to your ability at this moment? Right? Connectedness, safety, growth. Which one is the easiest, do you think, is going to be for you? Okay, that's it. All right, so that was not supposed to be a discussion. All right, we're moving on. Next excerpt. It's just a one-word thing. I don't know. You guys can talk later. Okay, so next slide. We go past that one. Okay, here's a couple of things. Part of the expectations, but let's dig a little bit more into family discipleship. Now, again, I'm trying to give you tools to last you for the rest of your life, hopefully. Whether you're going to be single or married, either category, I think these three principles will help. But these three things we take out of our family discipleship program, and we're going to allow you guys to kind of see some of the tips and tricks so that you guys can implement this in your small groups, family time, and one-on-ones. So the first thing is time. Okay, so part of what you're going to be thinking through, right? So obviously you're going to go through the schedule, these type of things. But in your mind, break it down into three things I need to be cognizant of, right? Time, moments, and milestones. And I know it's short, but at least have these categories. Time is this. It's, so let me read this. Counselors build intentional time into the rhythm of camp life to think, talk about, and live out the gospel. You're building out intentional time to think, live out, and understand the gospel. Now, we've already did like 90% of that for you guys by structuring all of that. Now, for our first timers, what Mimi said was gold. She was like, hey, set the stage early, right? Set it, like, I think especially if you have the really young middle schoolers or even freshmen, sit down, I think for your first small group, look over the schedule and be like, hey, this is what it looks like. Let them know, hey, we got a lot of free time up in the middle. We got a lot of time where we can do these type of things. And so just go, hey, we want you to have a lot of fun, and we built it out in the schedule. But we also have some time where we want you guys to learn and grow. So especially middle school boys, set the standard and the expectations early to be like, hey, we're going to have a lot of time for free time throughout the day. But with that, we also want you to have fun in small groups. Does that make sense? Set it up in the intentional time. So you guys can do that. A couple of other ways you can use time intentionally is you can eat together, right? That may not be obvious for a lot of small groups, but you could be like, hey, let's as a small group eat lunch or dinner or breakfast on these certain days. Now, here's the thing. Middle school, I think you got to be a little bit more explicit about this because I think if you don't say that, they're never gonna eat with you guys, and then you're gonna feel like no one loves me, right? But it's not about you. It's just you didn't communicate, okay? So just be explicit. Don't assume they know any of this. Just be like, hey, can we guys eat breakfast and lunch and dinner at least once during camp together, right? And do that. High school, you may go the other extreme and you're like, we got to eat together every single meal, which it's fine, but also what's good is they should meet people outside their family as well, right? So at least afford them 1 or 2 meals where they can kind of do their own thing. So figure out when you want to schedule this, but make it explicit, okay? Also, go like, hey, sometimes if a kid can't make a certain thing or because they want to meet up their friends don't make them feel guilty about leaving family time or small group stuff. Just meet them where they're at, set expectations, but be flexible. Y'all follow? Right? But be like intentional about it. Here's a challenge, and I would say it's maybe easier for middle schoolers, and it's gonna be more difficult for high schoolers. And I think, and I'm gonna challenge you college kids, it's gonna be really hard for college. But I wanna put this in. Find a time to insert small group prayer that's intentional throughout the time. There's really not much scheduled time of prayer outside of quiet times, our group devotionals and prayer. But let me challenge you. Before you guys go to bed, right, and I know this is scheduled time, as the small group leader, stand up and be like, hey guys, before we close out tonight, one thing I'm trying to insert as a rhythm in my life, right, either in my dorm room or with my buddies, is I want to pray with all of our roommates, right, before we sleep, right? Now, I know morning's going to be a little bit more difficult, but try to integrate good spiritual habits with your dorm, right, or your housemates on purpose. And if you can start building that rhythm right now with the students, right, maybe that's going to be a rhythm that they get to kind of continue to do. Hopefully, college students, you can start doing that with your roommates, and that becomes another just habits of spiritual formation. Y'all follow? But practice at camp with your students, and you become the leader that sets the spiritual tone. So utilize time there. And then here's another thing with time. Your attendance is going to speak louder than your verbal small group leading, right? Your activeness or your energy at whatever is going to speak more. If you have a bad attitude at games, that's going to rub off, right? You start complaining about the speaker, they're going to just jump in right with you. All right? Now, again, there will be times where we can debrief certain things and we can talk about certain issues, but let that time be between us because we're a little bit more mature than the students at this point. Does that make sense? We can be honest. There's times for that. But don't bring these kids into our discussion, right? I say this all the time. When my wife and I fight, we try to fight between us because we understand certain covenants and stuff. My kids just see mom and dad fighting, right? Don't spill that into the students, right? So think through that, but your attendance and your tone sets a lot of stuff. If you're late, they're going to be late, these type of things. And so counselors, please make sure that you're not only there on time, but you're a little bit early also, right? Just be like, hey, this is a practice we're going to do with our small group. Guys, girls, whatever. Like, we're going to go 5 minutes early, and we're going to sit strategically in certain spots at certain times. And then you're going to do that. Y'all follow time? All right? Intentional time that's already built out in the rhythm of the day to disciple. Next one is moments. This is just opportunities. So as you guys are going through camp, and I call this real-time discipleship. The moment you guys enter in on Sunday next week into these doors, you'll start seeing moments. And I would say take advantage as long as there's kids in this thing, in your midst, disciple. Maybe they're not your kids at the moment, but you have moments to disciple at any given time. On the bus, even during registration, one thing I'm going to really challenge our counselors right now is when you guys walk in next Sunday, don't just congregate as counselors. Really start the discipleship moment or process when you guys get here, right? And so what moments are going to look like, and again, counselors, be aware. It's a lot of the passing period. Sometimes in your small group, it's going to get rowdy, right? And when those kids, when your students get rowdy or they start to deviate, that's a moment of discipleship, right? How your tone goes in that moment speaks. It teaches, right? You can teach a lot of informal ways. And so use those moments. If you guys are walking from breakfast to the hall, use those times to be like, hey, how'd you sleep? Did you dream about me? Like, just things like that. Utilize, okay, maybe not the dream thing. Some of you guys are like, I don't know. So use those times to disciple. When you're on the lake or you're playing sports, use those moments to disciple. Here's the thing. Let's just be really honest. You start playing sports, you get a little bit too tad aggressive, right? You just let an F-bomb slip out. Okay, that happens. It's a great moment to be like, hey man, I probably shouldn't have said that. That's my bad. Can you forgive me for my anger? Because my words did not represent the gospel well. That's a great teaching moment of the gospel. Does it y'all make sense? It's those moments you got to capture. And it's your highs, your lows as well. When you get frustrated, that's a great moment of discipleship to be like, hey, that's my bad. Can you guys forgive me? When you lose your temper with your small group, you say something crazy, right? Calm down, take that moment right there and just be like, hey guys, that's on me, that's not you. Can you guys forgive me on this one, right? Again, I've not only been part of it, but we understand these things happen. How do you disciple? Now again, this stretches way beyond camp. When you guys are with your roommates, right? When you guys are in your jobs, most of your discipleship are going to happen in the informal times. How do you teach? How do you talk? If you guys have siblings at camp, that's going to be a major discipleship moment, right? Because it's outside of the norm, and that's when you guys can utilize some of that stuff. Y'all follow? All right. Okay. Anything there? Oh, last thing on moments is the best thing you guys can do that can really, I'll use a counseling term, fill someone's cup up, is this. Be an advocate for your kids. Think of your kids as the greatest thing in the world. Now, don't be like compare them and be like, my kids are better than your kids, right? Then that just causes a whole nother issue. But if you guys can be an advocate for your students to be like, man, this counselor, this is Billy. I don't know, you probably don't have a Billy, but this is Billy. He's in 7th grade. He loves doing Rubik's Cubes. He's awesome. And you just talk someone up like that. Think about this. Most of you, your kids, even yourself, you'll have never been talked up to from someone, right? But if you can advocate on these type of things, it'd just be like, oh my gosh, my older counselor loves me, right? Or thinks I'm special. Advocate for your kids. Now, the flip side is what we talked about earlier. You can really crush the soul of your kid if you start making fun of them in public, in front of people that they have never met before. That's damaging, man, right? So I'm going to challenge you on both sides. Be an advocate, watch their little souls, right? But those are the moments, and it's quick words, it's quick little sarcasm, right? It's your that tone, right? That really comes out, and those little grunts, phrases teach way more theology than a systematic theology book, right? If I can get you guys to that. And then the last thing on this one is milestones. This one's a little bit more abstract. This is something we're trying to do, but I would challenge all you counselors, find a couple of times in camp to celebrate publicly as a group together. Something, right? Usually this happens at the last night when it's decision day or decision time, but I would challenge you to start early And what that looks like, it could be if a kid has a breakthrough, right? And you could get this early. Like you find out a kid has never prayed out loud publicly before, and you're helping them, right? You're like, remember, you don't shame them. You're like, oh my God, you're coaching them, and they actually do it, right? Maybe in session 3, you stand up and be like, hey guys, let's just pause real quick. Little Billy here, just pray it out loud again. This is awesome. Can we all stand and affirm Billy, right? And it's gonna sound weird. Billy's gonna be like, I don't know, but it's like, oh, hey, we want to affirm something really good, and we want to do this. It's a breakthrough, right? Because it should, right? It should be like, hey, this is a huge thing where we all, and again, you're trying to get a communal affirmation to these people. And every kid is gonna be a little bit different, but you can also do as a group, hey guys, we made it through day 1. Let's just cheer for ourselves for 10 seconds because we made it. Or like, guys, it's day 2 and we didn't beat up anyone, right? Or like, it's day 3 and we're still alive, right? Like, you should do that and to celebrate moments where these things happen. It could even be bigger, right? Like, hey, like today we're just gonna go around sharing some of our really tough times, and at the end we're just gonna pray. And as your leader, I'm gonna pray over all of you guys, and I'm gonna lay my hand on each and every one of you. Have these milestone moments to where, again, it may not cost you counselors anything. A little bit of awkwardness, right? A little bit of inconvenience. Man, but to be prayed for in a group as a kid, like that's huge, huh? Right? To be championed by your peers, that's massive. You don't know. It is small for you, right? It could be a massive turning point for our students. Time, moments, milestones, all right? Which will be the hardest one that you think for you? With the person next to you, I'll give you 4 seconds to answer this. All right, go ahead. Okay, that's it. And then the last expectation. Y'all good? All right. I'll give you all the notes later. Last slide real quick. The expectations. Here's the question is, what are the churches expecting out of you guys? And this is why I say churches. Hopefully 99% of them after camp, you guys are going to return them back to us, right? You're going to return them back to us. And so there's 2 things I would want to really, really plead on all the churches' behalf. Number 1 is this. I think it's the slide. Next slide. Please. Okay. Number 1 is have the same message, but have a different voice, right? And what I mean by that is we have been laboring not just years, like decades, for gospel centrality. We really, really do believe on this side of an age number, right, that Jesus is not only real and he's tested, but he's faithful and he's good, right? When we are broke, when our marriages are hurting, right, all of these things, we believe Jesus really is that good. And the more we start to study him and understand who he is, we honestly believe he's good. And so our churches have been pleading, right, and teaching gospel centrality. And so please point your kids back to Christ. But, right, but use your own voice. And what that means is they know who I am. Like I am Justin. I have a certain personality, I have a certain baggage, I have a certain history, all that type of stuff. I am not you, you're not me, right? I will never have the advantages that you have. You'll never have the advantages that I have. And so we need you to be you, right? Your characteristics, your flaws, your personalities, and your journey with Jesus. And so use your voice. Now, I don't want you to kind of air out all your dirty laundry to our like 6th graders necessarily, but we want to know, like, we want our students to know how good the gospel is through your life, your testimony, right? What did he do first year of college to you? How good was he when he's walking you through certain stuff? What are you struggling right now that you're trying to pray? Your kids, our kids, need to hear that voice. Does that make sense? You're you, Like, and you bring that in no matter where you're at. And so we know your strengths. We don't know your weaknesses yet, but we're all part of this one body of going, hey, we testify to a greater Lord that's beyond us. And that's what brings us together. Outside of this, I don't think we'd be hanging out too much, right? But what binds us together? It's the gospel. But the gospel saves across boundaries, and this is why camp is like the all-star game, right? So anyways, and then the last one is this, that what are the churches expecting is for you to be an advocate for the church. Please be an advocate for the church. We want you to love the church. We know the church and institutions of the church and denominations of the church, even non-denominations of churches, they're broken, right? I can give you all the stats of why churches suck, right? But we want you to love the church that Jesus Christ built on his own testimony. Does that make sense? We recognize the brokenness of church, but for you counselors, no matter what your baggage looks like on this one, right, we need you to love the church of Jesus Christ, because that's the one that doesn't fail, right? And so the second one is we need you to promote unity. We are 5 main big churches, but we have a lot of different churches that make up Decamp and Impact this year. We'll give you the stats later on this week, but they're from all over, not just the city, but all over the state, and there's a lot of churches. And so we don't need inter-church, like it's not intramurals where like we're fighting one another, right? The reason why we're here at camp and we're not going to some other big one is because we realize, hey, there's diversity, but there's a unity with it. So, man, like CBC, promote Katie, promote NHCC, and so on and so forth. We're one church, then the students need to see that, hey, you can be proud and thankful for your home local church, but at the end of the day, we are one universal church. Does that make sense? Right? So there's no flag waving, right? And I know our kids they may go that way, and it's us in those moments to really kind of go, hey, we can be proud when we get back home, but for now, let's just champion the gospel. Does that make sense? Right? And so promote unity, and then the last one that the church is asking you guys to do is model Jesus for us, right? This is what the churches are asking you guys to do. And by that, this is a hard one to say, is please don't make it harder for us when you send them back to us. Please don't make the discipleship process harder for us. Because if you start, and again, time sensitive, guys. If you have kids who are just starting to understand the faith, they don't need to be understanding Calvinism, right? Again, we can have that discussion all day long, right? We've written papers and whatever. We can talk about that right here. But if a kid's like, oh my gosh, who is Jesus? They don't need to be understanding like Bavinck's systematic theology, right? So figure out where they're at. Don't insert your level yet where they're at, but challenge them, right? Find ways to grow, meet them where they're at. Where's the lowest common denominator of your students, and meet them where they're at. Don't make it harder for us when you send them back, because, man, there's been a couple of years at camp, they come back and they're all like, oh my gosh, is this true? All these type of things, and I'm like, whoa. We can talk about it, but you're trying to learn calculus BC when you haven't even touched algebra 1 yet, right? Does that make sense? I try to use the math analogy. All right, so please help us out on that, right? They need to know that you love them. They need to know that the church matters, and they need to know that the gospel makes sense. Cool? All right. With that, I'm going to have Mimi come up, and we got a surprise for you.
Yes, so we added this portion. This is new. We're actually going to do some gospel role playing. Yay! So I know that a lot of you guys are new. So maybe some of you guys shared the gospel yesterday. Maybe it has been never. So we want you guys, especially if those who've never done it, to really think about how can I share the gospel? Where are our kids coming from? So can we go to the gospel role play slides? Oh, thank you. You're welcome. Okay, anyway, with your partner right now, go ahead and pick person A and person B. Doesn't matter. Just person A, person B. You guys can talk about your acting skills too. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I think it should be on Canva, no? Let me start explaining. Oh, there it is. Okay, thank you. Okay, so next slide. Hey, so when you guys meet your campers, you cannot just cookie cut share the same gospel. This is who Jesus is, and He died for you on the sins. But everyone's going to be coming from a very unique way of where they're at the gospel. So we're calling it gospel growth. Where are they on this spectrum? We're going to start with the first one, gospel necessity. These are people who have not received Christ Jesus in their life, and they need someone to help them understand and establish that faith. We actually have around 20% of our campers who label themselves non-Christian, but I highly think that that number is way higher. There's people, I would say it's harder to share the gospel to someone that thinks they know the gospel, but they actually don't, than someone who knows that they don't know the gospel. So gospel necessity is really establishing what is sin, who is God, who is He, and why did He create this world, and how does He view us? Next one is gospel clarity. I would say majority of our youth is in this area, meaning they actually did receive the gospel. They know that the gospel is real, but they're struggling. And I think this is actually one of the hardest gospel growth areas because they're battling, and it's your job to really encourage them in that battle and to empower them with God's truth. The last one is hopefully you guys are where gospel consistency is that they are dedicated believers, but life is hard. God does not promise us a very easy life. We are called to suffer. So what does it mean to strengthen and equip our fellow sisters and brothers in Christ? So it is very helpful to understand when you're talking to your youth, you might have 4 of them in gospel necessity, maybe 1 in gospel consistency. And what does it mean to navigate? How can I share the gospel and their unique needs? And I know I might be saying these things, but it might go over the head of one other. So that's why we really want to equip you for your one-on-ones when you do have that personal time to speak very uniquely to their needs. So we're going to do some role playing. First, we're just going to do 2 scenarios. The first one, are some instructions. You're going to have your partner A and B. We're going to first go to gospel necessity. Next slide, please. Yeah, next slide. I already explained it. Okay, so whoever is person A, raise your hand. Oh, okay. Hello, you are a non-believer right now. So, person A, you were invited from a friend from school. You are a very high-achieving student, and you focus a lot of your time on building a good resume for college. But let's say you're in 8th grade. You believe that all problems can be solved through knowledge and hard work, and you don't see the need, and you feel like you don't have the time for God. I would say this is a very common gospel need that we see. So I want you guys to pretend that you do not understand the gospel, you do not understand, but you do have the need of having your identity is based on your worth in school. So that is what your gospel need is. So I want person B, you can raise your hand. Person B, you're going to be this very, you are going to be the one counselor, and remember that you do not have to know the answer. It's just really seeing their need and pointing them just a little bit closer to Jesus. And it's okay if you can't answer all their questions. Just try to figure out where are their needs and pulling that out. And remember, for my first timers, wait time is great. So you guys can teach what wait time is. So go ahead. I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes. So person A, you need the gospel. Person B, you are their counselor. Go. Yeah, give yourself 1 more minute. Okay, so let's pause here. Okay, we're gonna do a mini debrief. I want you guys to share with your partner what was, from the counselor perspective, what was hard. What was hard for the counselor? So you can have the counselor share what was hard, and I'll ask you guys. Hey, we're gonna have some people share. I'll have Corey. Can you share? Were you the counselor or? Okay, how was it for you?
I think it was good because I got a lot of experience in my first year of college, right? And it became a lot more natural just to talk about my faith and really express like what I believe in. I've learned how to, I guess, explain my faith to maybe people who don't believe.
I think it was good that he shared like his personal experience, why he believes what he believes. Um, for a younger kid, I feel like it might not be as relatable, but it's still good to see like, oh, this is someone who's gone through like similar experiences, and this is what led him to these beliefs. So maybe like even if they haven't gone through it yet, they might in the future, and they'll be able to look back and say like, oh, this is what church is what got Corey through this tough time. Yeah.
Thank you. That was a really interesting point that he said maybe I appreciate listening to experience, but maybe it's not relevant to me. And we talked about that in our session, but really having time to listen. Sometimes you might have a relatable experience, but sometimes we just assume and we just share, and then they just zone out because it's not relatable to them. So really taking that time to listen to their story before, even though it's very tempting to start giving the advice or even starting to share the gospel. We're going to move on to the next scenario with gospel clarity. So this one is a believer. They really do want to follow Jesus, but they're just struggling. Person B grew up in the church, but they're struggling in their faith because of family conflicts in a broken home. So that maybe they're experiencing one thing at home and then seeing something different at church. So it feels very jarring. And I feel this is a very common experience with our youth of not knowing how to reconcile what they see in the world and what they're hearing about God. So they just feel very confused. They're questioning God's goodness and presence in a world filled with pain. So they're battling. They're really battling spiritually. And then what does it look like to encourage them in that battle, to really keep their faith, but to also empower them and validate their painful experiences? This one, I feel like maybe many of you guys have had personal experience. So if this feels very personal, then you can just, I'll speak from that too. So person B, we're going to switch. Person B will now be the one struggling. Person A will be the counselor. So go ahead and yeah, go ahead and start. Hey, you guys can go ahead and pause and then debrief. Well, how did you make you feel? Did you feel heard? What were some feedback? You guys can share with each other. Okay. Hey, we're gonna go ahead and share. Let's start from the. Let's go from the back. What is your name? Oh, Kizia.
It was really good. Kirsten asked me a lot of good questions, like trying to. So we established at the beginning that it's revealed that like I have a broken home and I'm going through different conflicts, and so she kind of like dug in on how like talking to someone who has received Jesus, right? But they're just like battle and empower like to help them. It was like she asked me why did you choose to receive Jesus then, and yeah. So it was like more. She kept going with a lot of questions to listen more. Yeah.
Great question. Yeah, questions. Even though you think questions could be easy, they're really tricky. I went around to here. I heard Grace and Lillian over here. Grace did a really good job affirming. I heard that she was reflecting. She was trying to do active listening. I think it's really good to be. This is what I heard. I heard that you're having a hard time. But I would also ask, is that accurate? Like, what I shared, is that accurate, or would you? And sometimes they actually would. Actually, I don't think I feel hurt. I feel like I don't know, abandoned, or maybe using a more specific word. I also heard, yes, a lot of good asking questions. It's so hard, but I think one thing that I remember is a simple question is just tell me more. Like, I come from a broken home. Oh, tell me more. Like, you don't even have to just navigate. I think that even just giving them space to expand. And I really like what Kirsten did is trying to think back, when was a good moment with God? Do you remember that? Because sometimes in our pain, we forget about all the good things God has done in our life. So yes, question asking is very important. The last one, we're running out of time. The next one. This one is when people who are already dedicated believers, and this is called gospel consistency to strengthen and equipping. It's basically your personal journey right now. So I was just gonna give you guys personal, just sharing about your life, how to really encourage. I think, especially within an Asian American environment, we tend to not know how to encourage and affirm people. But if even the gospel clarity or even gospel necessity, you can encourage them. I know it's hard, but the fact that you're even wanting to learn more that's just so brave or very courageous that you're struggling and you're fighting. And I really see that, and I want to affirm that. So I hope that you guys feel courageous to affirm them in their journey and what you see, because sometimes they don't even see that, and they would need to hear that too. So what does it mean to see that they're holding this weight of just life, and what does it mean for them to just surrender that to Jesus? So we'll pause here. You guys did great. I don't want to take time from dinner, but did you guys want me to pray, or a pastor to pray? Stan will come up.
All right. Can you go back to my slides? Yeah, just a few quick things. We're gonna change things up, just so we can go to dinner. All right. So there's two slides. One thing that today to let you know, I think throughout the week we're gonna be. Last year we actually had a few mental health counselors at camp, and so that was definitely a big plus for us. During free time, the mental health counselor was there. Just kind of available to talk with the students. And I just remember every time I went into the yard house, students were meeting with them. And so, if you know Vicky Lim from KCCC, she's going to be at camp this year again. And so that's going to be something available for students to be able to kind of talk through how, someone that's actually trained through these things. And so, but we want, I think she had shared this this slide with Pastor Robert, and so we want to just kind of let you know about these things. I'm not going to talk through them, but we just want to make this kind of let you know to be aware of these things. And also, if you do have more questions about some of these things, Vicky will be there, will be available. But we wanted to let you know to kind of know about this, things to be aware of with your students as you go through one-on-ones with them or anything like that. Just as you speak with them, as you interact with your students, being aware of the Spirit, being aware of allowing the Holy Spirit to kind of lead you and have you give discernment on different things. And so, just some of these things, mental health warning signs. Be aware of these things. So we'll send this out to you as well so that you can review it. So just be aware of that. And so one last thing before we head off to dinner, and this is something we've been thinking about. Some of the other pastors have brought this up past few years, and we just haven't really done this. But we're gonna kind of bring it up this year. Every year we ask counselors, hey, can you come help? Can you come help? And you volunteer your time, and so we kind of want to just throw this out there. We understand, a lot of y'all might be college students or anything like that, but some of y'all might be working, and this isn't just for those who are working, but even if you're a college student, if you're we're asking counselors, say, hey, would you want to contribute to camp? As you know, you go to camp, but then you're going as counselors. It does take a lot from us, it costs. As you can see, for each counselor, for each person that comes, that on the right side, that's kind of the estimated cost there. And so we're just saying, if you would like to help, give, you would like to donate, this is an option. This is something that it will help us out tremendously. And so, as you can see on the right side, the right number there, we've a lot of students ask for scholarships, and especially the past few years, I feel like there's been a lot more scholarships requests, and so just as you know, with the economy and everything that's been going on, and so we're just saying, it's another opportunity for y'all to be a blessing to us, to the students as well. So if you feel like God is leading you, hey, I do want to support the camp a little bit more financially, come talk to me, and I'll let you work with you on how to give. But we just want to throw this out there. Please do not feel obligated. Please do not feel bad about any of this. Like, oh man, you're spending so much money until us come, because look, you're already giving your time. Again, right? You're giving up your days off. You're giving up your time. You're giving up your summers. So again, this is just something. If you feel led to give support, that's just there that we want to throw out there. So other than that, any last questions about anything that you've heard? I know there was a lot, but any logistical items, any questions that you might have that maybe we missed something? We just want to be able to answer your questions. All right. Well, 2 seconds to respond. So, but other than that, feel free to email us anytime, right? Email us back with any questions that you may have. Every question is a good question because it helps us think through things. Like if we did miss something, it's something that we can share with the other people. They might be thinking the same thing. So, So other than that, I'm going to pray for our dinner, and we're just going to give you guys some time to we're going to be sitting out there on the ground, just sit in circles, kind of like camp style. So you kind of find where you can seat and find anywhere to sit. And so I'm gonna pray for the food. I think there's like little bento boxes. I think there's a pork option, there's a chicken option, and then a gluten-free option, right? 3 options. And so if you're not gluten-free, don't go for that. Save it for people who are gluten-free. All right, so let me pray for y'all, and we'll eat dinner. All right, God, we thank you for this time, and again, we want to pray for this next few weeks that you would continue to be in our lives, and that we would be able to see you. And we want to see great things happen. We want to see you do some mighty works in and through us. We want to see the fruit of salvation in the students who come to camp. We want to be able to be used by you in great ways, and we want to be able to experience you. And so, God, I pray that your Spirit will lead us, that we will be attentive to your Spirit, that we will be attentive to your voice. And so, would you help us these next few weeks to be disciple makers of the youth, and would you allow us to help us to point them to Jesus? So, Jesus, we want to do this for you. I pray that you will bless us in all that we do. So, pray that you be with all the counselors. If they're going back to Austin or going back to Dallas right now, I pray that you be with them, keep them awake, keep them just allow them to have a safe trip back. Allow everyone to have a safe trip back. If anyone does not have power still, I pray that you would bring that power back to their homes. So God, I just pray for these things. So again, we thank you for the food, thank you for the fellowship, thank you for the life that we have through your Son Jesus. So Jesus, is in your name we pray. Amen. All right, ladies first, go ahead and grab food. Any other instructions on dinner or anything, Justin? There's a table full of food and candy and pizza. Yes. The sticky notes. Oh, yes. So if you're first-timers, everyone go out the right door. But on the wall on the left side, there's some counselor hacks for you that were written by veteran counselors. So go out the right door and look to your immediate left. There's sticky notes, post-it notes for you, counselor hacks. Thank you, guys. So once you finish dinner, feel free to go. Hang out, though, but not too long.